Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. So we will be starting the presentation on the briefing for the upcoming face-to-face segment of the meetings of the conferences of the parties to the Basel, Rotterdam, and Stockholm Conventions. So thank you very much for joining this briefing. My name is Marilyn Beau, I'm Program Officer in the Governance Branch of the BRS Secretariat in Geneva. And it's with pleasure that I will introduce you the preparations for the upcoming BRS Cups. I would like to start with some meeting highlights, as you can see on the slide. The first thing to know about the upcoming meetings, it's indeed that it's the face-to-face segment of the 15th meeting of the conferences of the parties to the Basel Convention, the face-to-face segment of the 10th meeting of the conferences of the parties to the Rotterdam Convention, and the face-to-face segment of the 10th meeting of the conferences to the Stockholm Convention. As you know, because of the pandemic situation, the original planning to have the meetings face-to-face in July 2021 was not possible. So the bureaus decided to organize the meetings in two segments, with a first online segment that took place over 5 days last July, from the 26th to the 30th of July 2021, and a face-to-face segment that will be taking place now in about 10 days in Geneva, from the 6th to the 17th of June 2022. The agendas for each meetings of the conferences of the parties have been adopted. So they were adopted already at the online segment last July. And the COP agendas that were not concluded or that were not considered even will be then considered during the face-to-face segments. The theme of the meetings is global agreements for a healthy planet, sound management of chemicals and wastes. And as mentioned before, the face-to-face segment of the meetings will be held in Geneva, most particularly in the Geneva International Conference Center, CICG, that I'm sure most of you know very well. This is where we used to organize our COPs meetings in the past. You have on the slide also the meeting website where you find all the necessary information for the meetings. Before launching into the COP preparations, we wanted to highlight indeed a few preparatory steps or work that took place in the recent months in the lead up to the meetings of the COPs. In particular, the important face-to-face segment of the 12th meeting of the Basel Convention Open-Ended Working Group that took place beginning of April in Nairobi. So this meeting had a focus on a set of prioritized agenda items for which progress could be made in advance of the COP15, as per the decision of the OEWG 12 Bureau. The meeting convened about 300 participants, either in person in Nairobi or online. It was a meeting that was conducted in a hybrid format. The key outcomes of the OEWG 12 are the adoption of terms of reference for the follow-up partnership to PACE, the recommendation from OEWG 12 to COP15 to update the technical guidelines on used lead-acid batteries, the recommendation to COP15 also to adopt 5 products that were finalized at the meeting, and also the recommendation to use as a basis for its work other 10 products that were revised at the meeting. There were also discussions on potential actions to be taken on plastic waste and also on the possible development of a future strategic framework. The OEWG 12 also invited a number of comments on some products, some of the products that were not finalized at the meeting. So as you can see, it is a very important meeting. The OEWG 12 is a very important meeting to make progress on some of the products or items that will be considered at the COP15. In the lead up to the COPs, regional preparatory meetings were also held. So you see on the slide the specific dates and locations of those regional preparatory meetings. So they were conducted indeed to discuss all the agenda items and also the documents that were made available at that time. So we'd like to thank the financial support from the governments of Norway and Switzerland, as well as the European Union through the ACP-EMIS program for their financial support that allow the meetings to take place. Now, another key event that will take place a little bit in advance of the meetings of the conferences of the parties is the high-level segment of the BRS COPs. So at the request of the bureaus, the HLS will be held in connection with the Stockholm +50 international meeting. So this international meeting is taking place from on the 2nd and 3rd of June. And the HLS of the BRS COPs will be held the day before. So it will take place on the 1st of June 2022. So in the same location, Stockholm, Sweden. So this HLS is an opportunity to raise awareness on the contributions of the conventions to the 2030 agenda, as well as how the conventions contribute to tackling the triple planetary crisis. So it provides for interactive and dynamic platforms for ministers and equivalent ministers to discuss about the contributions of the conventions to global environmental issues. The format of the HLS has been now spelled out in a program. You have also an information note for participants that explains a little bit the different components of the HLS. And you have also a thought starter for the 3 ministerial dialogues. So the format is pretty standard in a way that there will be an opening. It will be then followed by 3 ministerial discussions, so 3 panel discussions on 3 different topics that have been explained in the information note for HLS participants. And so there would be a panel composed of, I think, 1 moderator and 3 panelists. And the floor will then be open to ministers. So ministers will be able to contribute and make a 3-minute interventions after the panel discussion. So for that, ministers have been invited to register in an order of priority to the panel of their choice. In addition to the opportunity to provide or to make interventions during the panel discussions, ministers have, and their team have been invited to submit key messages through an email address. So they were invited, it's not obligatory, to submit 3 key messages for each of the theme of the HLS. And those messages will be the basis for the preparation of the summary on the outcomes of the HLS. So at the moment, you can see on the slide a few statistics on the registration to the HLS. So we have currently 73 countries represented at the ministerial level, including 62 ministers and 12 deputy ministers. And we have currently 250 participants registered for the session. For the ministerial dialogues, only ministers or equivalent ministers will be able to intervene and to engage. An important element to note as well is that all participants that wish to register to the BRS HLS must be registered to attend the Stockholm +50 international meeting. This is a requirement in order to be able to enter the meeting venue. More details about the HLS, including a program, a thought starter, and a general information for participants is available on our website. Yeah, and actually on that slide, you can have a brief overview of the sequence of events. So it starts actually with a lunch, a light lunch buffet that will be provided at 12. So from so the HLS will start from 1 p.m. and will continue to 4 p.m. So it's a 3-hour event on the 1st of June. So it will start with a lunch. At 1, there will be the opening ceremony of the HLS with the welcoming of the participants for half an hour. Then I think from 1:30 for 2 hours, there will be the 3 panel discussions. So the 3 moderated discussions called the ministerial interactive discussions. So this is where the ministers can engage more specifically and have an intervention in one of the 3 panels. And then at 3:30, there will be the closing ceremony where the executive secretary of the BRS Convention will provide the key messages coming from the ministerial discussions. So now I would like to turn to the meetings themselves that will take place from the 6th of June to the 17th of June in Geneva. So now we move back to Geneva. And for the organization of work of those meetings, you have indeed key information on the slide. The key document is really the tentative schedule of work for the meetings, which is set out in a joint document INF2 Rev 1. So this is where you find the different convention-specific sessions of the COPs or the joint sessions of the COPs, what is expected to be taken in plenary and when the decisions are going to be expected to be adopted. We will go into this matter in the next slides. On the 5th of June, so on the Sunday before the start of the meeting, you will have preparatory meetings, so the pre-meetings. It will be the bureau meeting. So as among those, you will find the bureau meeting, which will meet in CSCG from 1 to 3 p.m. for 2 hours. And this will be followed by regional meetings, so the traditional regional meetings from 3 to 6 p.m. Regions are also welcome to meet at other times as they see fit. Now I would like perhaps to turn right away to the tentative schedule of work of the 2 weeks. So on the slide, you can see the organization of work of the first week, so week 1. So we start on Monday with a resuming ceremony of the COPs, because this is the same meeting. We had the online segment, so online and face-to-face segments are the same meetings. So we would be having a resuming ceremony of the meetings, where there would be opening statements from executive secretaries and also the president, among other high-level representatives. Then during this opening, there would be also an opportunity for regional groups to provide their welcoming or resuming remarks. And such remarks should not exceed 5 minutes. Then the COPs, the 3 COPs will consider organizational matters, so the organization of work, elections, and credentials. And during that joint session, there will be also the joint issue of POPs waste. So as you know, it is a common issue to both Basel and Stockholm. And so it is expected that under this item, there would be most likely a contact group being established under Basel on technical matters to further discuss the POPs waste technical guidelines being updated intersessionally. Then in the afternoon of Monday, 6th of June, there will be 2 early sessions. So the first one is the Basel specific early session, during which the COP will consider the agenda item on technical guidelines, so the remainder of the technical guidelines. And after that, the COP would be also expected to take up item related to further legal clarity. After this, so during this session, it is expected that the Basel COP would establish a legal contact group also. The technical matters contact group would have already been established in the morning, But during the legal clarity group discussion, it would be expected that a legal and compliance contact group to be established. Then there would be, as I said before, an early session of Stockholm Convention specific COP, where the item on listing would be discussed. And at that point in time, it could be also expected from the Stockholm Convention to establish a contact group on listing. On Tuesday, we will go back to joint issues covering technical assistance, financial resources, program of work and budget, as well as MOU between the conferences of the parties and UNEP and FAO in the case of the Rotterdam Convention COP. The afternoon, we would be starting the Stockholm Convention specific sessions. So the sequence of convention specific sessions for Stockholm with the agenda items that are in front of the COP10, so compliance, effectiveness evaluation, exemptions, BD, DDT. The next morning, we would complete the joint issues with items on international cooperation, synergies, the dates and the venue of the next COPs, as well as other matters. And then Wednesday afternoon, we plan on having the remaining agenda items of Stockholm COP10 with PCBs, unintentionally produced POPs, national implementation plans, reporting. So that would be what is happening until Wednesday afternoon. The Thursday will be a complete day of Stockholm COP with some remaining items for discussion in plenary, and also taking up any draft decisions that would already be available at that time. The Basel COP specific sessions will start on the Friday morning, 10th of June, and will take up the ICC amendment proposal by the Russian Federation. And that would be it for that session of Basel. The afternoon, Stockholm will open a convention-specific session to approve any outstanding draft decisions, as well as to approve its draft report, at least for the Stockholm-specific sessions of its meeting. And then there will be a joint session right after that, where the three COPs will consider their the report of their joint session, as well as a first report on credentials. So that's for Friday, 10th of June. On the Saturday, this is a day off. So the bureaus have agreed that this time around, the day off between the 2 weeks would be on the Saturday, 11th of June. So this is important to note. And the slide now shows the second week. So it will be a week mostly dedicated to Basel and Rotterdam, with some joint sessions towards the end. So Sunday will be fully a day on Basel COP issues with the topics listed on the slide. The Monday morning will also be the remaining agenda items of Basel COP 15. And the Rotterdam Convention specific sessions will start already on the Monday, 13th of June afternoon. And you can see on the screen the sequence of this session. So again, Tuesday morning, a Basel specific sessions to adopt available draft decisions. And then Rotterdam will continue on Tuesday afternoon. Yes, until the end. So at the end, we have on Thursday afternoon a joint session where the COPs will be expected to adopt any joint decisions. And as traditionally done on the Friday, the last afternoon, each COP will adopt its convention-specific COP decision on budget and program of work. So the end is pretty standard. I mean, the schedule of work is very much what we had in the past, except for the early sessions of Monday, 6th of June, which this time around we have a convention-specific session related to Basel due to the heavy workload under the COP. So I would now show you the expected groups, contact groups and other groups that would be established during the 2 weeks of meetings. So on joint issues, It is expected indeed that the three COPs would establish a contact group on programs of work and budget, a joint contact group on joint issues, and the third joint contact group on technical assistance and financial resources and mechanisms. So those are pretty much the groups that you find at each meetings of the COPs. For Stockholm, it is foreseen that the COP may wish to establish a contact group on listing of chemicals, and on compliance, some group or establish some consultations on Stockholm compliance. Regarding the BC COP 15, there will be mostly three groups foreseen to be established at this point in time: the group on technical matters, the group on strategic matters, and the group on compliance and legal matters. Under the Rotterdam COP 10, two groups are for the moment foreseen: the listing of chemicals and the group on compliance. We have also listed at the request of the bureaus a possible group on enhancing the effectiveness of the convention. So there could also be the need for further discussion on this agenda item. We have heard also from bureaus that there could also be a possibility to have it together with the group on compliance. So that was for the tentative schedule of work and the possible groups that could be established during the 2 weeks. Now turning to the participation of delegates in the meetings. As you know, there was the deadline for registration for parties requesting financial assistance was 25th of March. As done in the past, financial assistance can be provided up to 3 delegates for parties that are developing countries or countries with economies in transition and that are a party to at least to the 3 conventions. So this is in line with past practice and financial rules. For this particular segment of the COPs, we have received the generous financial contributions by China, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, Norway, Sweden, and Switzerland. So we would like to thank very much the donors that makes the participation of developing countries and countries in economies in transition possible in the meetings. Something we like to highlight to delegates is that, you know, the tentative schedule of work has been agreed in advance of the meetings. So this is the joint INF2 Rev 1, but things may change at the meetings depending how the work progresses. So we always like to warn, give a word of caution to delegates to also anticipate that the work may change during the meetings, and it's good to anticipate that for your travel. But yeah, in general, there is a rule with regard to how many groups will run in parallel. So when there is a plenary, there are only 2 groups, contact groups running in parallel to it. When there is no plenary, contact groups can meet, 3 groups can meet in parallel to plenary. So this is an important aspect that the bureaus always consider when they plan, they organize the organization of work of the meetings. In terms of meeting documents, as the meetings was formally open during the online segment, all the official pre-session meeting documents have been prepared for the online segment. So you had already all the documents ready for the online segment in July. Only a few documents have been revised since then, only when the draft decision needed updates or adjustments so that the delegates really have the latest developments in front of them and have been reflected in the draft decision. We have also prepared an information document on developments that occurred in the intersessional period since the online segment, and you have the document quote on the slide. We have also recently the bureaus have agreed to allow some online participation in the meetings. So their agreement was reached on the 6th of May. And online participation is allowed in 2 instances, as described on the slide. full online participation will be provided to registered delegates of a party or an observer organization that face COVID-19 restrictions and that prevent any representative of the party or the organization to attend the meetings in person. So this is the first condition to meet. That will allow for offer full online participation. The second situation that allow also full online participation is when a registered delegate of a party or an observer tests positive for COVID upon departure, arrival, or during the COPs, and is thus prevented from entering the venue. And if the person is the only delegate of that particular party or observer present in the meeting. So that would be also the second condition that will grant full online participation. In addition, all other participants, all other meeting participants registered to the meetings will be provided with a viewer mode, viewer account to the meetings. At the meetings, there will be also COVID-related measures. As you know, the government of Switzerland has announced that COVID measures are being lifted as of the 17th of February of this year. However, because it's a large meeting and because also it's a UN meeting, we have to follow certain guidelines and guidance from the UN as well for such meetings. And the Secretariat has put in place certain safety and preventive measures for the meetings. So first of all, there would be everyday daily self-tests. So each participant, as well as staff, will be required to test daily and bring to the entrance of the meeting venue the negative test strip in order to be allowed to enter the premises. So each participant will be indeed required to self-test every day and show the proof that it has received a negative test. In addition to this measure of daily self-test, there will be also the requirement to wear a mask when you are inside the meeting venue. So at all times inside the meeting venue, except when you speak or when you eat. It would be possible to remove the mask, for example, on the terraces when you are outdoor. In addition to this, there will be also a testing tent that will be outside CSCG that will provide, free rapid antigen tests, as well as PCR tests at the cost of participants for those later ones. Recently, we sent a COVID note. So that was last week. Last week, we sent to all the registered participants a COVID note that explains in detail the safety and preventing measures for COP participants. So I hope you receive this note. It is particularly important maybe for the first day when you arrive, because you would not have yet received your self-test kits, because self-test kits will be provided at registration when you are already inside the CSCG. So in order for you to have a negative test the first day when you arrive, we have planned for a CCV, another meeting venue that is just in front of CSCG. So another place where all the participants will be invited to take their first self-test. Wait 15 minutes, and once they have their negative test, they can then proceed to the CSCG. So it will be very important for you to be aware of this arrangement for when you arrive on the first day, and also to plan ahead, to arrive early enough so that you can take your first self-test in the CCV before proceeding to CSCG. Yes, and yes, we also encourage full vaccination for the safety of the meetings. Now we'd like to move to the issue of credentials. So original and copies of credentials in good order will be accepted as per the agreement of the bureaus, with the understanding that the original will be submitted as soon as possible. So this approach is in line with past practice or past approach approved by bureaus for the preparation of their reports on credentials. Submission of credentials could be submitted either for the online, the face-to-face segment, or for each segment separately. So it is a very flexible approach. As per the rules of procedures, credentials are to be issued by the head of state or government or by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Submission to credentials have to reach the Secretariat, if possible, no later than 24 hours after the opening of the meetings, which is by 10 a.m. on Tuesday, 7th of June, 2022. On the website, you find models of credentials available in the 6 UN languages. And also parties were invited to submit advanced electronic copies of credentials by the 13th of May 2022. Originals can be handed over at the venue. The current slide shows the upcoming elections at the meetings. So you can see indeed the positions that are open for elections under the 3 conventions. For the Basel Convention, you have obviously the COP Bureau, the OEWG Bureau, 5 members of the ICC, and members of Enforce. Under the Rotterdam Convention, you have the Bureau, you have also the rotation of the CRC members, and for Stockholm, COP Bureau, and also rotation of members of POPROC. For more details about the positions, but also the terms of reference of the bodies or possible restrictions, you can find an information note on elections on our website. For each region, what the Bureau have agreed is that there is a focal point on elections in the bureaus. So for each region, we have a focal point that helps with the compilation of candidates and the preparations of the final selections of candidates for going to the COPs. So I just covered that point before. So according to the financial rules, as you know, no representative of any party whose contributions are in arrears for 2 or more years shall be eligible to become a member of the Bureau or member of the subsidiary bodies, except if the party is a least developed country or a small island developing state, or the party has agreed to a schedule of payments for their arrears. So this relates to all the bodies under the BRS conventions. And efforts are still needed to ensure that women and men from all parties are represented in the bodies and processes of the conventions. During the COPs, as usual, there will be side events. So, you know, it's an opportunity for parties and observers to present their work or continue discussions on some agenda items in a more informal manner. So we have received a lot of interest for the face-to-face segment for side events. So a total of 44 side events would be taking place during the 2 weeks meetings. So at lunchtime, two at lunchtime, and then 2 in the evening, sometimes even 3 because the requests were so high. So for more information about side events and the tentative schedule of side events, you can consult the meeting web page. In addition to the traditional side events, there will be a plastic forum, which would take place from the 8th to the 10th of June, so towards the end of the first week. So you had also, this will include, for example, a hackathon, as well as other events that will take place in the exhibition area. So you might find additional information on the plastic waste forum on the website. Now I would like to, I see the time is flying. I'm taking a lot of time for my presentation, sorry. But actually those slides are the most interesting ones related to the topics of discussion. But just to briefly provide an overview of the topics at hand for the COPs. So on COP 15 for Basel, there would be a number of issues on strategic matters like the strategic framework. The main discussion would be whether to develop a future strategic framework or an effectiveness evaluation for the convention. There will be also the development of ESM guidelines. The COP will be considering a revised practical manual to ensure that TBM meets ESM. On scientific and technical matters, here also a very heavy agenda with numerous technical guidelines to be considered on POPs waste, mercury waste, plastic waste, on D5, D10, as well as the decision to update the technical guidelines on new lab. There will be also the national reporting, so reporting on mandates, and also the COP will consider three new developed guidance manual on inventorying three waste streams, so plastic waste, obsolete pesticides, and lithium batteries. So also quite novel work. The COP will also consider further consideration of plastic wastes, how to assess and when to assess the effectiveness of the measures taken on plastic waste, and if further activities could be undertaken under the convention on this plastic waste. Other topics relate to the partnership program, as well as legal and governance and enforcement matters. In particular, the work done by the ICC. The committee is submitting 3 guidance documents for consideration and adoption by the COP on insurance bond and guarantee, and on transit TBM. So very important guidance documents for the consideration of the COP. There will be also the work on providing further legal clarity, in particular the 2 sets of proposed amendments being submitted. So first one submitted by the European Union to amend Annex 4, and the second set by Ghana and Switzerland to amend the e-waste entries. And finally, on legal governance and enforcement matters, there will also be the proposal by the Russian Federation to amend paragraph 2 of Article 6. Now turning to Rotterdam, also a heavy agenda under listing, where they would be considering the listing of 2 new chemicals, all being considered for the first time, decabromodiphenyl ether and perfluorooctane acid, PFOA. Then the COP will also, maybe I'll complete my presentation and I will take questions afterwards. So for the Rotterdam COP10, the COP will also consider previous chemicals that were previously considered, but for which consensus was not agreed yet. On compliance, the COP will consider an inaugural work program of the Compliance Committee, and also will take stock of the item on enhancing the effectiveness of the convention. In particular, the information dissemination strategy that has been prepared, and also the consideration of the proposal from certain African countries to amend Article 16. That was a proposed amendment submitted at COP8. On Stockholm, the COP will have a recommendation from the POPROC to list the PFHXS, its salt and its related compounds in Annex 1A without specific exemptions. The COP will also continue its work on BDEs, and evaluate the continued need for exemptions. It will also consider the possibility to withdraw certain specific exemptions on the DKBD and SCCP. As each COP, it will also evaluate the continued need for DDT, for vector control disease. It will also take stock on PCBs. The next evaluation is to take place at COP 11, sorry. On compliance, the matters was deferred to this COP, so it's the same matters at hand. On national implementation plans, new guidance on developing and updating NIPS has been prepared for the note of the COP. On toolkits and BAP and BEP, also here guidelines and guidance have been updated to reflect the newly listed POPs that were listed in 2019. And on reporting, the Secretariat will report on an updated electronic reporting format. And the fact that the deadline for Stockholm reporting is end of August of this year. Joint issues, so here a lot. So on technical assistance, we've already talked about. Budget also with the two scenarios being requested by the last COPs. Then on international cooperation, you have two sub-items: cooperation with Minamata and cooperation with other organizations, in particular cooperation with UNEP and UNIA. And then under enhancing cooperation among the BRS conventions, you have the traditional items that were the items of the last COPs on the clearinghouse mechanism, gender, synergies in preventing and combating illegal traffic, and from science to action. So this now completes this presentation. And I would like to open the chat or the floor for questions from the participants.